I would say in part of any sort of conflict or dispute, it's because of the ambiguities and the this clarity in what the expectations of, if I want something built, got to make sure that what I want is clearly communicated, and what a contractor or consultant is going to deliver is again clearly communicated, and that's actually really quite difficult to make people understand that this is what I want and this is what someone else is going to deliver, and that those two very rarely line up, and that's where we can sort of have that conflict from the start. So, as I say, in an ideal world, to get the start right is the way to get the end right.
But I always say, as a mediator, conflict is a given. Look at our own personal relationships, or like, there's always room for misinterpretations. There's times that we just make conclusions that are not really based on the facts, so we get irritated. There's cultural differences. There's all these things that can lead up to misunderstandings. And so even if sometimes joke, like if you look at history, it started with Adam and Eve having a conflict over an apple or something. It's just, look in history, there will always be conflict. So for me, that is not really an issue, but the way we deal with conflict is an issue. And so if you've stood like me in front of mass graves and you see what people can do to each other, it's like, okay, there's a conflict, doesn't mean the end of the world. We can sit down as humans and discuss this and come up with a solution that is okay for everyone. Yes, we might have to put our ego a bit to the side, or we actually might be able to learn something from ourselves and others, but that is the best way forward, given that there will be conflict no matter what, be it at work, be it with a contractor, be it in a relationship, be it with your family. But it will happen, but how you're going to deal with it when it happens. And so there's ways that people deal with it, which is, for instance, they just kind of avoid it, and so they think that's going to be okay, and they can kind of kid on that it doesn't really exist, and then it kind of explodes and it only gets worse. Or that you can, there's actually 5 styles, but you can, for instance, accommodate the other person and constantly say, okay, well, I'll give you what you want and so on, but that in the end doesn't work either, because then you feel that your needs are not being valued, and why is that person getting everything? You can say, well, I don't give a hoot, and I'm just gonna win this conflict. I'm just gonna take what it is that I want, which works really well for you, but not for your relationships. People will despise you, will try and go behind your back, and will do anything if people feel disempowered and they don't dare to tell you, like, hey, you're being a bully, or you're forcing me to do things I don't want to do, but they'll do it in sneaky ways. So, and then there's the compromise, which is something that we're all very used to, which is almost socially acceptable, like, let's compromise. But then we don't really talk about the issues. And then we've got collaboration. How do you work together? How can you kind of say, okay, let's sit down. What's your issue? I want to understand, where are you coming from? Why is this so important for you? And let me explain from my side why this is important for me and how I come to interpret this in this way. And then you can have that conversation, and that's what actually a mediator helps people to have that conversation. But you can do that yourself if you have the skills. And let's just sort this out for once and for all, and as adults, and move on and learn from it.